Hi guys, I'm reading a short excerpt from a book called Warsaw Stories by Hersch, Dovid, and Nomberg, translated by Daniel Kennedy. And the story is called Fliglman. Fliglman. Who and what is Fliglman and concerning his acquaintances? Fliglman was a young man in his early 30s. He had a small, somewhat crooked body, a large, lopsided forehead, and a little blonde beard. His eyes looked like they were fogged up with steam, as if all one needed to do was wipe them with a handkerchief for them to shine brightly. Often, as he ambled through the busy streets on his way to a lesson, hunched up, hands in pockets, he thought about how many great men had lived in the world: Buddha, Spinoza, Kant, and many others. And he, the son of a lowly shamus from Kuniv, knew their philosophical systems inside out and could recite everything they had ever written word for word. And if the sun happened to be shining, the carriages weren't clamoring in his ears, and he wasn't in any particular hurry to get to his lesson, then he would savor the thought that deep down, all those philosophers were not especially clever. Each one had hidden himself away in his own little corner and uncovered a piece of the great puzzle, but only a small piece, while he, Fliglman, knew everything they had achieved. What's more, he knew that the main thing, the kernel of everything, was life. Life itself was the thing. And Fliglman was satisfied with his life. The first 5 years in Warsaw had not been easy, and he preferred not to dwell on those days. Back then, he'd been a man without firm convictions, without a Weltanschauung, as he called it. But over the past 8 years, he had managed to settle himself in, find some work as a private tutor, and he had started to lead a peaceful life based on a few strict principles, living somewhat removed from the world in his room high up on the 5th floor. His room was always set up in a special way, Fliglman's way. He refused the services of a maid, being vehemently against slavery in all its forms. But when it came to washing the floor, which he couldn't do on his own, he would end up having to make compromises and reproach himself. How difficult it was to exist in this world while remaining a respectable person. He had many acquaintances but few close friends. In his circle, he was considered well-educated, a philosopher and an aesthete, but his name did not come up often in conversations. Whole months could go by without anyone thinking about him. They would only remember him when money was needed, and then someone would cry, "We forgot all about Fliglman." "So we did," another would say, and they would all wonder how Fliglman could have completely slipped their minds. When he had guests, Fliglman would welcome them with tea, inquire after mutual acquaintances, lend money, but he avoided getting into debates for the sake of it, and made sure the conversation did not become too intimate, so as to not contaminate his Weltanschauung. The acquaintance would leave satisfied, telling all his friends. In this way, everyone sang Fliglman's praises, but he was soon forgotten again for another couple of months. Just to also mention, this book was written originally in Yiddish by Hersch, Dovid, Nomberg, and translated so beautifully by Daniel Kennedy.